test earth bag, and we marked where on the property we got the dirt from, and the fact that we're adding no extra sand, just as is. And then we're going to try another one with some sand mixed in, and then see how they do. We're tapping it to make them into bricks, so we can stack them nice.
Right there, wasn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
What we did first is we randomly collected soil from the huge mound of soil over there. So maybe about 10 scoops. And we did that twice. We each had our bucket. We came back, and the first test we did was the squeeze test. And so this is a squeeze test. And basically you take a handful of this dry soil, you wet it, and you just play with it to see if it'll stick together. And this did, so that indicates it's a pretty rich clay soil. And so the next test we did was basically the same thing. We took a handful of the soil, we wet it, and we played with it until we got it to the point where it would hold together in a ball. And then you hold it at 5 feet and you drop it to see if it'll shatter or if it'll hold together. So these two show that, I mean, it was just barely a little crack. Okay, so then the next thing we did is shake test, and that's in the process of kind of settling out. So you just put a sample of soil in a jar, add water, shake it up, and then you let it settle. And you can see the cloudiness of it. That's pretty much the silt. The heavy stuff drops first. It's kind of, that tells you what percent of clay, sand, and silt you have in the soil. So it's a way of determining. And we already know that there's probably a lot of clay. The test indicates that there's a good amount of clay in the soil.
Jim? It's not poop.
Michael? Michael, we got there. So let's go from that fence this way.
Cut it, let's just cut it right there.
We'll tie in a Y there. Another clip. There. Okay, good. Okay. Now let's put lights up there.
I'm chopping some onion for the Mexican rice that's on the stove, and she's chopping some green pepper, and we're using tomatoes, red onion, and green pepper for the color that they'll add to the rice. We're not going to use a lot of oil like they do in
traditional Mexican recipe. So we're steaming the rice first. I'm going to slightly water saute the onion, and then we're going to add raw green peppers and tomato afterwards. So it'll be a blend of raw and cooked. It'll be really good. All walnuts, flavored with chili spices, and it will be heated up. And it's a taco non-meat, and it's delicious. You will be surprised.
That's what the whole the drain lock itself is like part of the pipe.
Yeah, that's right.
You know what I mean?
Now, do you throw something on top? Like back in the old days, we put straw on top of the thing.
Oh,
So do you put something on
that's
top
what
of
the
the rock?
fabric does.
Oh, so you
The
put
fabric's
fabric on
like
top
this.
of the rock too?
Yeah, it's gonna roll over. That's why it goes up the bank.
Oh.
So we're wanting the footing to be right here is where the sandbags are going to stack. So this is the part that needs a flat top. And then it can pop off on the sides. And so we're making this flat and we're going to run the compactor over that so it's nice and solid base. It's a little high now, but then it'll go down. Now that we've got all of our gravel footings in and we've got the string line pulled so the exterior perimeter of the building is located, and then there's a couple of curves
on the north side that are all laid out. What we're going to do next is start laying the first 2 courses of earth bags. The first 2 courses of earth bags have what's called 3/4 crush. It's a rock that's been crushed down to no larger than 3/4 of an inch, and they're actually, since it's crushed, they're not round. It's not like a drain rock, and the crush consolidates together better, and it holds together better, so it forms a better foundation. And we want to use the 3/4 crush on the first 2 courses because it stops the water and moisture from wicking up into the clay in the bags that are going to be above that. So the upper bags are going to have higher clay content, and that'll actually, when they dry, it'll be more like adobe. So the bags are about 15 inches wide when they're full of soil or the crushed material for the first 2 courses. They're about 5 inches thick is what we're going for, and then probably about 22 to 24 inches long. They're going to vary a little bit because that's just how it is. And what we'll do is we'll start in one corner and just start working out and start laying the bags. As we go, we're going to use a level on the top, and then there's a tamping tool. So we can use this tamping tool to tamp down the bags, and you can see it's got a nice flat surface, and you just whack them down and it'll make them nice and flat. So we went ahead and measured all 4 sides to make sure that they were the right length, and then we measured diagonals, the 2 diagonals, and we had to adjust one side slightly because we had a little bit of a parallelogram. It was about 2 inches out of square, so we moved one side an inch. And I just find it's a lot easier. I know it's dirt bags, but if you get your foundation level and square in the beginning, the roofing will fit a lot easier because the roofing comes in big sheets that are rectangular, the polycarbonate, and it does make it easier in the long run to have it square. So it has to be 15 inches from the string line out, flat, and like right in this area, we're a little low right here. So it'd be good to take some of that 3/4 crush out of the wheelbarrow and just fill this in, and then you can take the hand tamper and tamp it down so that we've got a good base all the way around the perimeter. And there's just a few spots like this that we'll need to fill a little bit. Well, a little bit of elevation it needs to be. So we're going to go like this. Yeah. So this is a little slouched up. So on this wall, we'll need to run another layer of these blocks. Do another wall right alongside here because the bags again are 15 inches and this is not wide enough. And then where the doorway is, we're going to add another layer of blocks here, and the doorway is at 4'6", which is right here on this seam. So at this seam we're going to turn this block and run it this way, and then out here we'll have to go across for 3 feet. Because this door opening and steps are 3 feet wide, we'll bring another block back in. This will become one of the steps. Now this is a 16-inch block, so the wall is about as thick as this block. Once it's plastered, it'll be just that thick. So the step is actually right in the wall. And yeah, these will be cemented in, and I got some Portland cement in the trunk of the car. And we'll mix it with that same 3/4 crush. We'll use it as an aggregate to mix the cement. And then later we'll come in and we'll put another step down here, like that, so that you can just step, 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 and then floor level is put up here. And then underneath in this void between the fabric and floor level, we're going to put insulation, drain rock, and then the manifold for the climate battery, which is that black ADS pipe that'll be in the drain rock, so that when we pull the heat from the ridge, it'll go through all that piping, and it'll store the heat in the drain rock during the day, and then it'll radiate out at night and keep our water trough warm for the aquaponics, keep the greenhouse warm. And the plants will be down near the ground, the heat will be in the ground, so it should just keep that. Even if it freezes, it could freeze higher up, but it should keep the ground pretty nice. So what we'll need to do is get the water on with the hose, And it's good to wet down the gravel, and then you take that tamper and boom, 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 boom. Yeah.
So we're going to fill this bucket up with crushed gravel and pour it into a bag for a test to see how much volume we have.
Oh,
I'm like Mary Michael.
We still only, we didn't gain much, so we got to have a little more, huh?
yep.
That's how you get to 22 inches.
See, it's quite a bit higher than that one.
A little low on this end, right here.
Oh, I know, I'm just helping out.
Still not level.